Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McCarrow
Hello, I'm Carol Cooper.
and we're here today with Paul Jillins, who is a network marketer and an entrepreneur. Hello Paul.
Hi Marcia and Carol, I'm Paul Jillins, as you just said, and you can find out more about what I do on www.didyouhear.co.uk.
Fantastic, thank you very much Paul, and thank you for being with us today, giving up your time. So there's a lot of stuff around network marketing at the moment. What is network marketing all about and how does it differ from multi-level marketing? Is it the same?
Technically it's the same, but there's a slight difference if you want to be totally precise about it. I mean, network marketing basically means the average person can set up their own business with very low investment and very low monthly overheads. And they can run that business with part-time, full-time, or any-time, as they say. They can run alongside their own full-time work as well. So it gives people a lot of freedom to earn a bit of extra money.
Fantastic.
So when it comes to the multi-level marketing, you could say network marketing is more focused on recruiting others into the business, whereas multi-level marketing, you could say, is more focused on the products and the services. But ultimately, they're the same.
Right.
That's where your focus is, really.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. So network marketing, or maybe it's the multi-level marketing, has had a bit of bad press. Is it because people are getting confused with network marketing and some of the other schemes that are out there?
Yes, in particular, obviously, a lot of people think, oh, it's a pyramid, but that's something totally different. It's in fact, as you probably know, it's illegal. And most of the bad press, like with any business, is linked to people who've had bad experiences.
Yes.
You're not going to find any successful company online without some bad press. There's always someone who has a bad experience. And of course, it's not the norm. Whenever you step outside the norm, there's going to be people who don't like it. They get criticism because they can't understand it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Do you want to know more about pyramid schemes, or do you know all about that?
Well, it might be good to have the contrast, really, if you give us a bit of information about why they're illegal.
Yeah. Pyramid schemes are illegal because they're basically fooling people into investing money into a scheme on the premise that that money is being invested into products or services and they're gaining the benefits of that. So basically, the biggest idea of is a Ponzi scheme. They take your money in and the early investors gain their income basically from that money coming in from other investors. So ultimately, there's not enough investors to keep paying out to everybody else. So the people at the top want to earn money out of it, but everyone at the bottom on the lowest level, they end up losing out.
Right, fantastic. And you can see why that's illegal. Why, you know, people are out there saying that they've had money stolen from them in effect in these schemes.
It is obviously the biggest one was the Bernie Madoff, who a few years ago went to prison for a long time for taking billions off people.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've run a more traditional, inverted commas, business in terms of IT consultancy. You've ran that business successfully for a number of years. So what were the highs and the lows of your IT consultancy business, and how do those highs and lows differ from what you're doing now?
One of the highs, you could say, was the income it generated and the opportunity to work in other countries and working with a regular team of people. The lows, you could say, again, working in various countries, because obviously it means a lot of traveling. It's fine if you love the traveling, but you can get sick of hotels after a while. But I used to make most of it by staying at Centre Parks rather than hotels. So I always had a bit of fun in the evening. What was the question again?
It was about the highs and lows of the different types of businesses.
That's right, yeah. They were basically lows, but one of the lows, obviously, was the time it took up, because it's not a normal 9 to 5. As you're sort of working away from home in a different country, it's virtually a 24-hour job.
Yes.
You work probably for 12 hours a day, and then you go out in the evening to eat and drink with your colleagues, go to bed and start again the next day. So what I particularly like about network marketing is the freedom it gives you. The time freedom is the most important thing to me. Yeah. So obviously to start with, you're earning a lot less. That's why you can build up alongside your main business. And it gets to a point where you can leave your main business and let it take over.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, more freedom, more time to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Yeah. And
So,
that's why, sorry, go on.
no, carry on, please.
Oh, I
Continue.
was going to say that's why it's particularly of interest to a lot of women, actually, because obviously a lot of them are tied to children and their normal daily routine, but they can fit it in with that routine. In fact, I remember reading some statistics not so long ago. I think in Europe, 83% of the network marketers are actually women.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and it's one of the few areas of business where you're not limited on income based on gender, age, or education.
Yeah, fantastic. Because you can actually fit the business around what you're doing in your general life, and that's the premise, isn't it, around the network marketing?
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. So, what in general then inspires Paul Jillins?
Helping people, really. I think I'm going to go on to head, because I read some of what the topics you're going to read about earlier. What inspires me, I suppose, is mostly helping people, bringing happiness into people's lives. I'll probably say it again later, because I know it covers some topics you mentioned as well. Yeah, but ultimately that is. I mean, one of the you could say the slogans of Utility Warehouse, which is a network company that I work with, is make money, save money, ask me how. And obviously, everybody either wants to make money or save money or both.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to help people do that.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a great thing. I mean, I talked about earlier, or alluded to earlier, that you ran a successful consultancy where, in fact, you were working so many months of the year and having the time off the rest of the year because you'd managed to make that income, which is a great model to go by, I must say. If you had the opportunity to go back into that more traditional business, would you go back?
They paid me enough.
Okay, that's a fair answer. If they paid you enough.
I mean, I will qualify that statement because, as you just said, I only used to work a few months, and likewise, I want to be paid enough so I could only work a few months. There's no way I'd go back to it on a full-time basis.
Yes, absolutely, and I can't fault you for that. Can't fault you for that. Thank you, Paul.
Not at all. Agree with that one. Absolutely. Paul, hello there. Network marketing, it's been around for 50 years or more. And there's still many misconceptions about this field of business. What are some of the myths that you've come across over the time? And what would you like to share about them with the people who are watching this video today?
There's 2 or 3 myths that spring to mind. One of them is that it's a quick get-rich-quick scheme. But more accurately, you could say it's a get-rich-slow scheme. Particularly in these stages when you're getting off the ground, getting running with the business. A lot of people give up because they don't make money quickly. And the other myth that I think about is that a lot of people think, oh, it's selling. I don't like selling.
Yeah.
Nothing could be further from the truth, really. Even more so Utility Warehouse, but I'll come on to that in a minute. With a lot of network companies, you do have to buy products, and the premise is you have to sell those products on. But because you deal mainly with people you know, you don't want to hard sell them. And again, that puts a lot of people off. You think, oh, I'm selling to friends and family. And a lot of the products, they can be a bit overpriced. Although they're good, like Herbalife, it's done a lot of people all are good. But you probably can get some of the products cheaper elsewhere. But it's more convenient to help your friends and family out. That is the whole idea of it. But what I particularly like about the Utility Warehouse, we actually just offer services, electricity and gas, etc., which people are using anyway. They just get them cheaper. So even more so, selling is totally off the ball. You're not selling at all.
Right, that's interesting. That fills that for a lot of people, because there are a lot of myths around that. So do you see this model of doing business getting stronger? This is a little bit of now and in the future, really, Paul. So in the years to come, would it get stronger? Or could something happen now where they would create a gap and you would have to do something else in order to pick that up again and run with it further down the line.
I can only see it getting stronger and stronger. In fact, when I saw this topic coming up, I did do a little bit of research. I couldn't remember the figures off the top of my head. And as you said, it's been going 50 odd years. The latest figures I've seen was 2017, and that showed $189 billion in retail sales in network marketing. And of that, 76 billion was actually paid to distributors. So the wealth, you could say, is shared around more, which is another thing I like that. It's not one person at the top earning everybody down the line can also get it. In 2017, there's also 117 million distributors worldwide. That is really, really big. It's getting big all the time.
Huge.
And it's better for the companies as well, because they save on advertising, they save on marketing. Basically, it's all done by people like myself.
Right. Right. Okay. Then. Well, that fills in that one. It's such a huge area, though. I mean, I've done a little bit of that type of marketing myself many years ago, but it is a huge and different arena now, I think. Yeah, so how does network marketing bring out the best in you as an entrepreneur?
Best in me, it's a happier business model to work with, because you can fit it in what you want to do. Rather than thinking on Monday morning you have to drag yourself to work at 9 o'clock. If you want to lay in bed, you can. And if you want to go on holiday, you can. And the good thing about it, as you probably know with network marketing, you get a residual income, a passive income. From what you built up. So you get to a certain point where you basically retire if you want, which a lot of people want to do. They want to retire early and just live the life they want to live. Some people really enjoy the work and just want to keep going. They want to retire. That all depends on your priorities in life.
Yes, it does. And it depends on how well you are at it, and do I make enough money to survive?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Hence, I moved on.
Yeah.
So, how do you support others to discover their best in your present role?
Well, as part of network marketing, you could say there's always a team, and I'm a team leader, you could say. But I've never really liked that part of it, because everybody in the business is their own boss, and they're free to do whatever they want. There's no target, no one to answer to. You can just do whatever you want. But so basically, you're there in an advisory role, really. If people need help, rather than just push them, encourage them too much to do more. Obviously, what they do benefits you, but it's also benefits themselves. So you want to encourage them to a certain point, but I take a very, very laid-back, passive role as far as that aspect's concerned.
So good advice and support really is the key, really, to just making them feel good about what they're doing, really. Well,
guidance and obviously they're all networking, but if you use utility warehouses, free ongoing training anyway. But you're just there for the person who introduced them to help them on a more personal level.
Yes, yeah, I understand that. So sometimes in business, we have to be, as we all know, the jack of all trades in order to prosper. So which part of doing business are you most comfortable with, and why?
It's strange, because business per se, I don't particularly like. Business to me is a means to an end. There's not much in business I do like, except, as I mentioned earlier, as I said, I'll bring it up again, the aspects of helping people to get where they want to be.
And if there's any gaps in these areas, how do you fill them when they've manifested themselves? Do you recognize these gaps and then say, right, I'll move in there, or I'll change that, or I'll link that together? Do you recognize those on a regular basis, or
what sort of gaps are you talking about here? What sort of gaps?
Well, if anything in business, when you're actually when I was pyramid selling, or market level selling, put it that way, there's always a gap. There's always somewhere where you can do better. So I needed to recognize that, which at the time I was only a young girl and I didn't. So we refer to them now as gaps. I could have done better when I think back across my life then. So would you have recognised any gaps in selling the way you have been? And if you have, how have you turned it around to make it stronger and more positive?
Right. The only area I believe fits into that really is, although I recognised the opportunity 17 years ago, I was still doing my IT consultancy then.
Right.
I did very, very little with it. And people who started around the same time as me, you could say, are more successful in business now. But that doesn't really bother me. As I said, that's not what I'm in it for, to be successful. As long as I can tick over and help others, I'm fine. But when you see what they're doing there, you think, well, if I'd done a little bit more in those early years, I'm a lot better off now. But again, it's just financially, it's better off. And that's not a priority for me.
Right.
So I wouldn't say there's any gap to the sack, except sometimes if you go around with successful people with more money, you can think, well, I could have been there if I'd done more.
Yeah, could have pushed myself that bit more.
Yeah.
So I've got an idea about the answer to this question because you have sort of covered this, but I want to know, which part of the business do you least feel comfortable with and why?
Funny enough, actually talking to people.
Oh, really?
Talk the hind legs off a donkey.
You're in the right business there. Oh, how funny.
I do not want to talk to people. No, it's not like I don't want to talk to people, but I can be quite nervous talking to people. So I did find that difficult, particularly in the early years.
Yeah.
And
really
selling.
Yeah.
Well,
it's really good stuff, isn't it? Really, really interesting, because we've known you for a while now, Paul. So actually being able to talk to you and find out a little bit more in this way, and as you're talking, I'm recognising some of the things you say, because how we met was around that supporting role, you know, and so that, you know, what you're saying is resonating with me, because I know that of you and how you like to work and do things. So for me, this is really interesting stuff, and it's making me grin, especially the bit about I don't like talking to people. Because we have some long, deep conversations about different business stuff over the years, actually. So it's really interesting to have this conversation, Rick. I want to ask you about your strengths, and we all have one strength or skill or ability that stands out above all the others, and Karen and I call them our business superpowers. It's really interesting, because we were talking about this morning that we saw a post where somebody's had put that in on a post about a business superpower. We were like, hang on a minute, where they got that from? So in terms of business superpowers, what would you say your business superpower is, and why?
Well, I can't sum up in warm words. A couple of things come to mind, but to fit in with what I've said earlier, the desire to help people, I would say, that's my greatest strength. That's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
I mean, what helps me keep going in doing that, I would say, is determination and resilience. Ultimately, the desire to help people.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant. So how would you define success?
It's making the lives of people happier and easier.
Yeah. So making the lives of people happy and easier. By that then definition, would you consider yourself to be successful?
Well, you're smiling. Is Carol smiling? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Afternoon.
I know that you've got a particular love of nature, and you've got an interest in animals and the plight of animals. And I know from some of your posts that you've got out there about that interest. What originally took you to that interest? What made you? Have you always had a love for animals and nature?
Oh yes. Since I was very little. Growing up, I had family, had every pet you can imagine. I just grew on this love of animals. I hated even stepping on an ant. It used to really upset me if I did it accidentally.
Oh, crikey. So it goes to that level, really. So would you kill a spider, or would you catch a spider and put it outside?
I'd catch it. very I'd catch it.
Depend on what the spider was.
Yeah. I can never kill it. I'd rather move into a different room and leave it to it.
So how does your love of animals affect who you are?
I think it's all part of loving life, loving the environment, and loving people, really. It's all an extension of that, really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Paul, just to stretch on that last question as well, you've talked about becoming a vegan, and many would describe veganism as a lifestyle rather than a diet. How would you respond to that comment?
I would say in recent years it's become a lifestyle, because veganism now these days is not just about what you eat, it's more about your way of life.
Yeah.
So I suppose in truly technical terms you would say I'm a plant-based eater rather than a vegan. Obviously, as I've said, I would never ever deliberately harm an animal, and even before I became a vegan, I could never ever kill an animal to eat it. If I was out and survive, I'd eat grass rather than kill an animal.
So you've always been that way then. Do you remember when that all first started?
Well, I actually became a vegan 2 or 3 years ago. With these other animals, I could never ever kill them, and I could never ever even buy raw meat. I mean, it's fine when other people do it and cook it. Once it's cooked, great extent you can distance yourself. You don't recognise it as meat. But yeah, if I had something with a head on it, I'd play it, wouldn't eat it.
Right. Okay, that's fair enough. So, are there any conflicts of interest in your life with being a vegan, and how do you reconcile with them?
No conflicts really. Not I can think of. Any suggestions for the conflicts?
I don't go into conflict. Yes, I would make suggestions, but not conflict, but not in this case.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, is there a motto that you live your life by?
A motto I live my life by. Well, I don't want to sound like cliches, but I really believe in live and let live. But one quote that you could say is a motto that I always live by is happiness is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
I really think it's no good thinking you're going to get happiness somewhere down the line. You have to make each day happy by doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, Marcy and I feel exactly the same. And obviously in these current times as well, you have to make the most of every day and get up and just be determined to get on, really. Yeah. Absolutely.
So that was life. Sorry, Cece. Life is a journey and not a destination. Was that, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, Carol.
No, that's fine, because we need to, get that down, because that's interesting. Paul, I love reading, and you love reading like I do, because, I'm a bookworm if people leave me alone, but they never do. But there you go. That's not a plug at Marcia at all. Is there a book or an article that you've recently read that has had a significant impact on your life? And why would that be?
A significant impact.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So I'm always reading books. And the one I'm reading, just finished at the moment, I won't mention because it's a bit controversial. The one I read previous to that was called, what is it called now? It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by a psychotherapist named Laurie Gottlieb. And it was a very, very good book because although being she is a psychotherapist herself, the premise behind the book was that she had a crisis in her life, how she needed to turn to therapy herself. So she was relating that story along with stories from her own life as a therapist. But it was written in such a clever way. In fact, in a lot of ways, it is more like a novel and she introduced a lot of humour into it to make it easy to read. So although it's giving you a lot of information that could help you in your own life and to help others in their lives, it's put in a way that was easy accessible, which is what I really like about it.
I just think that's a gift. It's a gift to be able to write anyway, but to be able to write, make it interesting, and make it not look like it's just a lot of information. It's got to be a real key.
That's my problem when I write. I write a lot, but I'm very too technically minded. When I've written journals on my travels, because I love traveling, if you look at it, it's too technical. People wouldn't enjoy reading it.
Yeah, I know. It's so easy. I'm chapter 6 of a book myself, and I'm not too sure about whether it's just telling people about what's going on and where I've been, or the story really. So yeah, you're right. So reflecting on your experiences, how do you think you've supported others to achieve, and what has been their feedback and their interactions with you?
I've always been told I'm a good listener, and I like being told that.
Yeah.
The problem is I've put myself down in some respects, and I hear people talking about stories so much. In fact, going back to network marketing, they say you have to be a good storyteller. That's one aspect of my life that is disappointed to me. So I like it when people say, "Oh, you're a good listener." You show you have something else to give, and it's nice that people always feel they can comfortable and come to me. That so often I'm told that people can say things to me and open up that they wouldn't say to other people, which I really appreciate.
Oh, that is something, because people's feedback, it can make you or break you sometimes.
Yeah.
Marty and I always tried, no matter what, to be constructive about what people are saying, and not just reading between lines or anything. So yeah, it's important, because good feedback is good, but feedback that isn't excellent or isn't good is not a bad thing either. So
absolutely,
we live with it all, and that's obviously what we're all doing. So what does the future hold for Paul Jillins, who is our network marketer or marketeer and entrepreneur? So what is the future?
Well, I don't tend to plan much when it comes to the future. I like the spontaneity of taking each day as it comes. For reasons, well, obviously we're in a difficult situation at the moment. That's got a few of the things I've planned for the future on hold, which I find difficult, which is why I don't tend to plan ahead. I do things which I do today, sort of thing. But saying that, as far as personal plans, you could say, I hope to continue growing as a person, trying to improve myself. Basically, the idea of helping others to be in a better way.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Paul. That's enough from me for now.
Well, I wanted to ask you actually, how do you spend your time, your downtime? Because I know you have a lot of time where you're maybe not doing your network marketing and running your businesses, because there's more than one. How do you relax? How do you take time out for you? You've mentioned travel.
Theatre. I love the theatre.
Theatre. Fantastic.
Walking in nature. Even better with good friends, rather than on your own benefits, but with friends it's sort of different but good, both good.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant. Interesting stuff, because we all spend our time differently, don't we? We get energized and relaxed in different ways. So it's interesting to know how different people that we're talking to are spending that downtime and the quality of that time they're actually getting. That's been a really, really nice journey through your life, Paul. How can people get hold of you again if they're interested in knowing more about network marketing and what you specifically do? So if you can give us as much contact details as possible, that would be really useful.
No problem. The website, as I mentioned before, was www.didyouhear.co.uk. Email is info@didyouhear.co.uk. Did I say that right? I think I did. Info.
Say that again for me, Paul, nice and slow. The
info@didyouhear.co.uk. And the phone number, shall I give my phone number?
If you're happy to put that out on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, it's out there anyway, so I might as well. 07550 084 979.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul. So we're at the end of the interview with you for this one. We might follow it up with a part 2 because there's some of the things that you talked about that I think I would like to go into a little bit more detail in at some point. But I will come back to you on that. But at the end of each of the interviews, what we like to do is go through and think about the messages that we're taking away that's going to help us, Carol and I, in DYB really, as well as on a personal level. And a big one for me that you mentioned that you've not said these words, it's what I'm taking away. The things that you dislike to do don't have to hold you back. So you've talked about things that, things that I don't like to do this, but that I know, having known you for all this time, I know that's not held you back. And in my head, I've almost got that, well, I need to be doing that, even though I don't like doing it, I need to be doing more of that. But if I look at you as an example, why do I? It's always like flick that on its head, really. Do I really need to be doing that? Putting myself through that pain?
Yeah.
Or could I get somebody else to do those bits?
Yeah.
So I can do something differently. So that's a real big one for me. I've got the note down about the book that you've got. Maybe you should talk to somebody. So I want to have a look at that because the journey that this person's written about, I find quite interesting, and I want to explore that. So I'm going to probably get those details. And could you tell me what the author's name is again?
Yeah, it's Lori, Lori.
Yeah.
Gottlieb, Gottleib.
Okay, fantastic. Become a good listener.
Yeah.
I've got a habit of talking a lot, as you may well know.
No,
I probably need to, and Carol's got a big grin on her face there. So I think I need to get better at becoming a better listener, so I can hear what's actually being said to me, really, and being able to act on that more readily. And I suppose the final one for me, make people feel comfortable so that they want to come to you. And that sounds pretty obvious, really, but actually, how well are we doing that? How well am I doing that, making people feel comfortable? Am I on my own path, on my own journey, or am I looking at that as steps that I need to take so that people want to come our way in terms of business? So for me, those are the things that I'm taking away. So thank you for those, Paul. What about you, CC?
I agree with all of that. Absolutely fine. The other thing for me, Paul, is you mentioned spontaneity. That's played such a big part in my life, and I can resonate with that very, very clearly. And I think what you don't want too often is just to hold back. You've just got to go with it, and hopefully, we've talked in interviews before about pressing the button or moving forward quick and just doing it, and it's more and more apparent to me as we go on that really is important. You can't just hold back all the time. And I mean, listening, yeah, very much so. I think we think we listen to people, but do we always hear them? We think we hear what they mean, and then when you think about it again, you think, no, I don't think you meant that, or she, or whatever. So that all resonates with me as well. And what Marcy said before about people being comfortable and happy in talking to you, and you're happy talking to others, even although it's not one of your happier traits, as you put it earlier on, or happier things to do, but it's nice that you can. And when you're comfortable in conversation, all that debris just goes, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
So I'm taking a lot of that sort of fundamental which I usually do, just try and think of that fundamental stuff, and to bring happiness to people's lives. That was just wonderful. I loved that bit, and I think that's all Martha and I tried to do, really. You know, whatever we're trying to teach them, just hope there's a bit of happiness there as well. So,
yeah.
But Paul, thank you so much. I've enjoyed today very much.
Just you know, linking in on that last bit, CC, people often remember how you make them feel, as opposed to what you said or what you were taught. And so they come back based on that feeling. You hope that they learn something as well, obviously, because we're in the business of training and development. But actually, it's about how they often feel, that they felt safe, they felt comfortable, they felt that they could challenge, they felt that they could explore. All those things really that come to mind. They felt that they had space to reflect, and that if they said something about what they didn't like, that you weren't going to come back and shoot them down. You were going to listen to that stuff and hear them out in that. So that's about the feeling they get, isn't it? About being in your presence. So I think for both of us, that's something to resonate on, and links in really nicely with what we're talking about, reflection, you know, and getting feedback. And maybe that's one of the questions that we need to maybe add into our feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's not a bad thing at all. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for being with us today. As I say, I will be back in touch with you shortly to get the part 2 and to talk a bit more about particularly the veganism and the way you use food as your fuel, because I know we've had these conversations. It'd be good to share that knowledge. Now people know a little bit more about you in a part 2 video, if you're up for that.
No problem at all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.